Why are those kids in approaching important?
So for me, and I'm going to say this both as a commissioner and as a mom of a third grader right now, and I will be very candid. When we had this conversation, and we all had this, a lot of us had this conversation, I wasn't necessarily there myself on approaching. And then I asked my team to pull the data. And when I looked at the data, for me, it is always about what does this mean for that child? Not for what does it mean for me as an adult or the commissioner or a teacher or a community member, but for this child and his or her future. And what we know right now, and I want to be clear, this is really hard. All of this is very, very hard. But if we're thinking about that student, for students who are in the below category in terms of their performance on the third grade TCAP, in 8th grade, that cohort of students, 1% of them have gotten to meets or masters, 1%. If you look at the approaching category, which is about 40% of our students, and you track that cohort of students into 8th grade, 8% have gotten to meets or masters, 8%. When you continue that and say, fine, let's not talk about the TCAP, and we actually start talking about the ACT, and you follow that same cohort, now we're at about 19%. But that means 81% also continue to struggle. And if you track that to post-secondary completion and TCAP programs or into our colleges or universities, we are back down to below 15%. So for me, as hard as it is, and to be very clear, as hard as our districts and teachers are working, and they are working so hard every day, some kids just need more time. So if we are thinking about from a child perspective, and whether or not in this moment, as hard as it is, we want to take that bold action to say for those students, it is 60% of our students who have not yet gotten quite where we want them to be, that now is the time to take action and say, we are willing to invest in our children. We are willing to say it is hard, and having a total of 9% of our students of that approaching and below category, have those students, only 9% get to meets or masters by 8th grade. I think we have to say, no, we can do more. And that is what this does. And so I have moved, I am all in on it, and it is going to be really hard for our districts. I just want to reemphasize that those more minutes, that extra time matters so much for kids, and it puts them in a completely different path in terms of what they would eventually be able to, I think, see success in, and certainly reduce retention rates and remediation rates in our colleges and universities and TCAP programs. But more importantly, it is our investment in students, their futures, and giving parents and students the right and the ability and the resources to do what they need to do to move their kids forward.